What's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday, and I know we've made it pretty far into the week now, getting close to Friday, and we do have some exciting things on the way in terms of weather, including some relief from the heat going into really later this week and into early next week. So I'll start the video off with that bit of good news. But before we get there, we do have some ongoing severe weather to worry about, as well as a couple things going on in the tropics, and some of which are actually pretty close to home here that will affect our immediate weather and short-term weather. So we'll definitely talk about that as well. One thing I did want to add real quick, I do want you to expect over the next week or two, really about, well, I guess really the next week exactly, I will be having a lot of morning videos because starting tomorrow, I work 7 days straight before I'm done working here in the upstate, and I get ready to go back to Charlotte for school this fall. So I'm working a lot of afternoon shifts, so it's just going to be easier for me to record videos around 9:30, 10 in the morning and get those out for you folks in the morning than the evening. So sorry about that little change up in the routine, but it's just going to be the easiest for me as I get into this kind of stretch of busy time at work. So just want to add that here at the beginning of the video. Other than that, I think we're all good to go ahead and get started here. So taking a look at satellite imagery, we got a couple things going on here. One, a line of very strong to severe storms up into New England. We talked about this yesterday, and sure enough, that has come to fruition and is continuing to barrel on through the I-95 corridor this evening. Another thing to note here is this area kind of off the coast of Florida, off the southeast. This is a pretty broad, kind of elongated area of low pressure that is kind of, riding up the southeastern coastline. And with that, we'll bring some cloudy and cooler and rainier weather for a lot of folks tomorrow afternoon. So that will definitely be interesting and honestly nice for a lot of folks who are going to get some relief from the heat from that. Finally, kind of the last thing to note here on this map is up into the Midwest. This is another area of energy that is going to swing on through, bringing with it some strong to severe storms as we go throughout the next couple of days. So taking a look at current alerts out there as well as radar imagery, obviously the big glaring thing is all of these heat advisories and excessive heat warnings for millions of Americans from Kansas up to Minneapolis, all the way down to Birmingham, and all the way through the East Coast from Raleigh, North Carolina, and even areas further south from there, all the way up through areas of DC, Philly, and even up towards New York. So that's what we're seeing in terms of all of this heat. Now, in terms of actual storms, again, very feisty line moving on through. Well, let me change the color here so you can see that a little bit better. But a feisty line of storms moving on through the I-95 corridor this evening. And again, I talked about this yesterday, and we have actually had a couple tornado warnings today, which I also kind of talked about yesterday I expected to see. So as we go through tonight, again, make sure you're staying safe as this continues to roll on through. Now, outside of there, we are seeing this really stretch all the way back into the Ohio River Valley, so places through Cincinnati, southern Indiana, southern Ohio, even through West Virginia. Seeing some of these scattered showers and storms, less of a severe weather threat back out this way, but still showers and storms from that moving on through. Now, moving back up towards the Midwest, this is where that next cluster of strong to severe storms is getting going, and this is going to continue to take kind of the same path that the storms that are in the Northeast right now took. So through the next couple of days, this is going to swing on through, bringing with it severe weather, although less of a threat compared to what we saw with that first round of storms earlier in the week. Now, the other thing I do want to mention, and you can't see this on radar right now, oh, I guess you can, there we go, loaded, is this big cluster of showers and storms here off the Florida coastline. This is not a tropical system, although it is tropical in nature, but we're not expecting any development out of this. But what it will do is bring a lot of this moisture up into the Carolinas going through our Friday and our Saturday. So that will help to cool things off here, especially I-20 and I-95 corridors here into the Carolinas and Georgia. So that will definitely be nice for you folks out that way. So starting with a severe weather threat tomorrow, we do have a slight risk from kind of Detroit back towards Cleveland through northern Indiana, through the Chicago metro, as far west there as Des Moines. In that slight risk. And again, this is for that area of storms that are up into Minnesota right now. As this swings southward tomorrow, severe weather threat will increase for more people before once again continuing that threat, although further to the east and south for our Saturday from Boston all the way towards St. Louis and as far south as Danville, Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia, and the Virginia Beach area. And of course, all places in between there in that dark green color. So taking a look at future radar and what we're expecting over the next 48 hours or so, Again, right now we're having those storms cross through the I-95 corridor. As we go through tonight, those storms will weaken, and the main threat in terms of severe weather will shift back towards the Midwest and the Great Lakes region, as that area of storms that we've looked at already will continue to move eastbound. Now, those should fall apart once we get past about midnight, but once we get into tomorrow afternoon, expect another flare-up of storms for more folks kind of in the same area here, again, where we have that slight risk from Wisconsin through Iowa and through just the Midwest in general. Wind and hail will be the main threats with that, but can't rule out a brief isolated tornado as well. But mainly this is going to be a really feisty line of storms that moves on through, starting tomorrow morning and going through tomorrow afternoon. Again, moving through a lot of the same areas that saw this threat earlier this week when we had that first wave move on through. Now, another thing to notice tomorrow afternoon, let me back this up, is the overall really widespread showers and storms here into the southeast from coastal Georgia through coastal South Carolina and Florida. Again, that area of low pressure bringing some showers and storms with it tomorrow afternoon, helping to cool things down, but also bring precipitation as well into the forecast. So the Carolinas, Georgia, Florida, even Alabama could have some pretty widespread showers and storms for our Friday afternoon. And honestly, even Friday morning, as early as the morning, could see some of those showers and storms, but mainly along the coastline during the morning hours. So as we get through Friday and we get into our Saturday morning, again, that same line of storms that is going to start into kind of Wisconsin tomorrow will continue to swing on through a lot of the same areas that we saw this last round. So by the time we get to Saturday, it'll be the northeast turn once again to get on these very strong storms to roll on through for our Saturday afternoon. And also Saturday afternoon, expect again pretty widespread kind of showers into South Carolina, North Carolina, and Georgia, as well as Florida once again, as that area of low pressure just kind of hangs around a bit longer. And also expect some showers and storms along the Ohio River Valley for our Saturday afternoon. So Saturday does look a bit stormier compared to maybe some of the other days we've seen this week. So the overall pattern we're expecting through this weekend, again, high pressure dominating the pattern right now, but as we get into our Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday of next week, expect this big low pressure and trough to kind of sink southward into the lower 48, but mainly through the northeast and the mid-Atlantic, getting any benefit of cooler weather from this, but with it also bringing more storms. So next week, as this trough moves in, we'll get a bit of a kink in the high pressure here as the trough kind of dives southward. So what this is going to do is allow for more of a stormy pattern to follow along this ridge between that trough and some more of this high pressure. So places kind of in this area right here could see more widespread rounds of storms next week compared to where we're seeing it this week up into the northeast. So I just expect that kind of storm belt of sorts to sag on south going into early next week. And that could last well into the week before going into next weekend. Once again, looks to kind of stay cool into the northeast. So we'll definitely watch that. So again, just kind of review that. Very hot now through this weekend, but going into early next week, through really much of next week, expect the conveyor belt of storms to kind of shift a bit further south and incorporate areas further down into the southeast and through the Midwest. And with that happening, also expect some cooler temperatures up through the northeast as that trough kind of moves on in. So going into tomorrow afternoon, again, still a very hot day as this ridge continues to build. A couple of outliers from that heat will be down into Florida and the Georgia and Carolina coastline, where we see some of those showers and storms from that area of low pressure. Also up into the northeast, where we still have some leftover cooler temperatures from those storms that are moving in today. Now, as we go into our Saturday afternoon, expect even more widespread cooler temperatures to begin to work their way on into the country as that trough digs south. So, again, you'll notice all this blue from Canada will begin to work its way southbound. Also, expect cooler than average temperatures here into, once again, the southeastern coastline as that area of low pressure moves on through. Now, this overall pattern will continue going into early next week. Again, those blues really working into the northeast and kind of areas of the eastern Midwest area. So places like Michigan, Indiana, Ohio also getting in on slightly cooler temperatures, and that will honestly last for much of next week for those regions, while the rest of us continue to bake in the summertime heat. So kind of a better way to look at this is just the 6 to 10 day temperature probability outlook. So again, a higher than average chance of below average temperatures for the northeast, while still very warm as this ridge continues to bake a lot of us here into the southern tier of the country, specifically back towards Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas. Looking at precipitation chances over the next week or so, overall, really not much. But again, you'll notice kind of that belt of storms will begin to shift a bit further to the south. So places like Kentucky, Tennessee, kind of the St. Louis area, and the Western Carolinas, as well as West Virginia, getting in a little bit more on that storm belt of sorts. Also, expecting some higher totals along the southeastern coastline, again, where we're seeing that rain right now and for the next couple of days. So to quickly touch on the tropics here, we do have a medium chance of formation from this disturbed area of, storminess out here in the Atlantic. So this could form, again, kind of out here, really smack dab in the middle of the Atlantic, specifically northwest of Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, British Virgin Islands, and, all these Lesser Antilles, I guess, is what I could call it out here. Now, the good news is, if anything does form out here, odds are pretty high that this will just recurve out to sea before having impact on the East Coast. So we dodge another bullet, it looks like, at least right now. So we'll hope to, keep up that good luck throughout the rest of hurricane season. So with that said, again, just expect some morning videos through the next couple of days, really through the next week or so. Not every day, but a lot of days we'll have morning videos just because of my work schedule. So again, I apologize if that messes up your routine a little bit, but it is what it is. With that said, I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your Thursday night, and I hope you have a wonderful start to your Friday, and I'll see you all tomorrow morning.